What's up, my dudes? So don't forget, you guys can follow me and add me on Steam, Instagram, Snapchat, Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, Twitter. All that different stuff is just Spencer Turley, no space, no capital. So it's exactly like my YouTube channel name, but just without the spaces and the capital letters. So with this video, I wanted to come in here and actually do a deep dive into the track editor and kind of give my full opinion on it and really go in here and talk about the different aspects of it and how it actually turned out in the long run here. So this is basically your Excitebike 64 track editor here. Like I was saying from the very get-go, I was saying that is going to be like worst case scenario. It's going to be like that. I was honestly thinking it might have had a little bit more actual editing within the game when it comes to like how much, let's see how to explain this, when it comes to like how much you could do with the dirt itself and how much you could do with like the actual on track rut system and all that different kind of stuff. That's where it really wasn't as much as I was thinking. Oh shit. Yeah, let's get this back. Let's get back up on that. Okay, let me just scoot this over a little bit and then I will show you guys some stuff. But yeah, so I mean, it is way more of your Excitebike level, where you're actually going in there and let me get it in this view real quick, where you're actually coming in here and just placing pre-made objects throughout you get to pick at the very beginning through a bunch of different stadiums. You got two really big ones, then you got some other like medium-sized ones. You got the baseball style stadium, you've got some smaller stadiums and stuff like that, but basically what you're doing is you're picking between all these different pre-made objects. Okay, so you've got all your different styles of jumps in the game, and you got your different whoops here, you've got your different straights, you've got all different types of corners, and what you can do is like let me show you here. So you can actually flip all your jumps. So you can basically put the jump that was at the beginning, English, you can put the jump that it was at the beginning at the end, or the jump that's at the end at the beginning. So you get a little bit of variation there. So like instead of jumping off the actual peak of one of these jumps, you can kind of jump off the technically downside, so it gives you a little bit of variation there. You can flip obviously your different corners, so you can like do something like that right there and get some flip action going like that. Now one thing about it is the fact of like all you're really doing is with these objects right here. Okay, this is it, right? Like you can't just make more than what's right here. You know what I mean? So it is very limited in that sense. The only real thing that you're editing is like where it is within the stadium. You know what I mean? That's the only real thing that's being edited here. It's not so much like you're actually picking how the jumps are and you're picking like how the ruts are in the corners, or you're picking like exactly how big the jump is or how big the berm is, or you are definitely coming through here and picking through pre-made selections, and that's pretty much what it comes down to, like you're just kind of making variations of what's here, you know what I mean? So it is definitely not what I would call like a Halo Forge editor. It is not to that extreme. I was kind of speaking about that before the game came out. Like that would be a really good scenario if they had got it to the level of like a like a Halo Forge editor where you're actually going in there and see you're in this sort of this is obviously, you can see on the track it's got that sort of gray look to it, so you're not actually seeing what trying to go through here and edit while I'm talking. That is a little bit more difficult than I thought. So you're not actually seeing the literal in-game version of the track as you're building on it, kind of like I thought it might have been. It is way more of a you're kind of coming in here in like a pre-made editor look to everything, and then you actually go in there and test it, okay? Now, if they didn't have the test system in this, it would have been god-awful, because trying to build a whole track and then go in there and test it, that would be terrible, so thank God they put that in there. Now, one issue with it is the fact that on PS4 in particular, I don't know how every single console is, but like PS4 in particular, it takes so long for this to load into the actual editor part of it, or like the actual testing the track part from the editor. It takes so long to go to that, for that to load, that a lot of times you just want to build the whole track and then try it out. I mean, even, you know, like, and I just said, like, you shouldn't have to do that, or it would be terrible to have to do that, but even though they give you a test option into the game, they've got it to where the loading times take so long on consoles that it is actually quite annoying. It's actually quite a nuisance. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, God, like, I better not test it, even though I want to test the track right now. I don't want to have to wait for that loading screen for, 5 minutes here. So that's definitely a thought that runs through your head. But on PC, you don't have to wait that long, because the load times is all based on your actual computer performance. So you can just come in here and test things and just do it really quickly. It's a very fluent system. You can just boom, return right back to the track editor like that. See, both of those occasions where you've got basically two loading screens, one to go into the test track mode and one to go into the actual editing screen like this right here. And both of those are going to take probably like 20 times as long on a console than they do on PC. So that is an annoyance there. I don't really know any other workaround on a console, but yeah, so that's a little bit frustrating. But now one good thing about this is they do actually have a big enough stadium to where, like, their biggest stadium in the game actually has enough room in there to make a lot of different stuff. That was one of my biggest worries before this game came out, is I was thinking the stadiums weren't going to be big at all. You know, they would just have like your really, really small style stadiums, and then you wouldn't really be able to put enough enough variation in there for it to even really feel like a custom track. It would just feel like a lot of rehashed like stuff that's already in the game. But thank God they put this big stadium. I feel like the other stadiums definitely gets repetitive, but the biggest one in the game, it's got just enough room in there to where you can kind of go in there and make something that feels a little bit like a hybrid track or a little bit like a motocross track. You know, you got a little bit of that variation going on, so I thought that was really cool about the game. It was something I was really worried about beforehand, so that was good that they at least got that aspect in there, at least decently. So that was one really good thing about it. Now, another good thing... Oh, I'm about to get stuck right here. Let's go back. Another pretty good thing about it is everything just pieces together. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's... like I speak about how, well, you're limited because you're having to pick between these pre-made objects. Well, it's more like beginner-friendly, but yet... you can't have nowhere near the personalization and the flair and the, your own style of track. You don't get nowhere near as much of that in this game as you would like an MX Simulator track editor, where, you've got way more of that going on. And I understand it's a little bit harder to learn the MX Simulator track editor, but if you spend a little bit of time on it, then you can make literally anything you want. You can actually go in there and build that jump exactly how you want it. You can go in there and build that berm 300 foot tall, or, whatever. You can go in there and build a mountain and just make a mountain climb section, or you can make elevation. That's one thing that's totally missing, is the actual elevation in the track editor. And we all kind of thought that because it's just a Supercross game, so all you're building on is a flat surface. So even though you can come in here and make some things that kind of feel like a motocross style track, hybrid-y type track, you're missing that entire motocross elevation element. So yeah, that is one thing to it there, but I mean, it's definitely good to have it in the game. Without a doubt, I'm glad they put the editor in there. Like I said from day one, I know some people got a little bit butthurt about me speaking some of my negativities about some things with it, but it just, I knew it wasn't going to be like what some people thought it was going to be. Not everybody. Obviously, some people have their head on straight and they don't get totally blown out of proportion with their expectations, but some people were. Some people literally thought that this game was going to have like a full editor, make anything you want to make in it, and it's just not like that. You know what I mean? And that's all I was ever trying to get across in that original talking about the editor before the game came out. It just wasn't going to be like that. It was going to be like an Excitebike, piece these pre-made pieces together, or it'd be like a Halo Forge editor at the very best, but it wasn't even to the Halo Forge editor level. It's very, very bare bones, strict. The only real variation you're getting with it is where you place things in the stadium. That's the only real variation. It's not what you're actually placing. You know, you're not making your own whoops or making your own ruts or making your own jumps. You're just picking where you put all of those things. That's where the whole editing aspect comes from. You know what I mean? So it'll be fun for a while. You know, it'll add a little bit of longevity to the game, but it is going to get to that point to where it's like, you're either going to have to add more pieces or add more stadiums or add elevation or add something or add like where you can actually put ruts on the track. I mean, something's going to have to happen eventually. You know what I mean? It's not one of those editors where it's just going to kind of be the end all be all, make the game last forever. It's not that type of editor. Whereas like an MX Simulator and PC version of Reflex, those editors are like that because you can make anything you want to make. You can put any object you want to put in an MX Simulator custom track. Like I've made dimension tracks, space tracks, snow mountain tracks, tropical tracks. Damn track looks like you're on Hawaii. You know, you got that Maui Wowie blowing in the air, that Honolulu action going on. So you can make a track like that. You can put your own types of palm trees in there, put any kind of tree you want to put in there. Shit, you could put alien models in the game and have those in there. Make some kind of crazy alien different biome track or whatever kind of track you want to make. Any jump style, any roughness style, any rut style, any type of traction. Those are, so you can't actually adjust the traction on the custom tracks. These were some aspects I really thought would have been in the track editor of this game. Like, I thought you would have been able to like actually put sand in certain areas or put like wet. I guess there is the rain mode on the custom tracks, but like I just thought you would have been able to make like a pre-made mud track to a certain extent and change different types of dirt, like have loamy dirt or super dry dirt, but that's not in there at all. You're not editing the dirt itself on the track as far as the traction of it, the ruddiness of it, the actual rough bumps of it. Now you can put the object of the whoop in there and it kind of gives it that rough bump feeling to a certain extent, but you're not like putting actual braking bumps in there. You understand what I'm saying? You know, you're not actually building a inside rut in this one corner. Every single corner is going to have that berm filling to it there. So that is a very big downside to it. And the other side is you also don't get to adjust any objects in the editor of this game. Like, you're not picking, okay, this track has no tough blocks, or this track has tropical trees on the side of the stadium, or this track has a big rock in the middle of the track, or for like just scenery purposes or something like that. You know, none of that is in there. You're not adjusting any off-track stuff. All you're adjusting is the stadium, really. That's it. You're just picking a pre-made stadium. You're not picking like what kind of tough blocks you got out there. You're not picking the type of skybox. You're not picking any of that, dude. So even though it's cool to see it in the game, it's cool to have all the different aspects in there, it is limited. You know what I mean? It is very, very limited in a lot of ways. So, you know, just because I say positive things about the track editor, don't get, you know, your mind blown thinking that I think it's just the best track editor ever, because that is definitely not the case. But when I say negative things about the track editor, don't get it in your head like I'm saying it's just terrible and should have never have been in the game and, you know, it just sucks and all that. That's not what it is. You know, I'm happy to see it in there, but it's definitely going to need improvements over time, right, for their future games to really expand upon that. But it's awesome to see it in a console-based game again. It's been fucking forever since we've had that. I feel like a track editor should be in every single racing game, period. At this point in time, that's just how it should be. But yeah, I mean, and that's what gives you a lot of similarities with the custom tracks in this game when it comes to like how they all look. You know, they all kind of have that same look to them because they're all built in a stadium. They've all got the same exact looking dirt. They've all got, you know, all of that. I am really, really happy they put this different change camera mode right here, so you can go like between complete top-down view to like this kind of medium view. This is where I do most of my editing in this kind of medium view. Then you can get all the way down super precise. Don't really know why you'd want to do that exactly, but because it's not like you're getting precise building of ruts and things like that. But yeah, it was definitely cool to see that in there. Whoa, this is going to work out perfect. It's going to swing us right back around. I don't really care about matching this up to the start over there, but yeah, so let's see. Let's get this back. So that was cool to at least see those different camera options. It allows you to actually build something without having too much trouble. So I mean, all in all, like, it's definitely amazing to see it. I love that they put that in the game, but, you know, it's just always keeping kind of a level head with it. You know, don't get too crazy about it like it is the greatest track editor of all time, because it's not. And a lot of people understand that. You know, I don't have to tell them that. They get it, you know, but some people, like I was saying with that overhypeness of the game before it came out, they were getting that sort of thought, like, well, this game has a track editor, so fuck, dog. It's just as good as MX Simulator all of a sudden, or it's just as good as the PC version of Reflex, right? They were getting that thought in their head, and it's just not the case, you know? It's not that level of a track editor is kind of my biggest point here, but yeah, when it comes to being able to piece it together and do all that, I thought that was really good. Now, when you go to search for the tracks, I know when the game first came out, they had no option to actually search for custom tracks. All there was a top most liked page and a, let's see, they had like a most downloaded page, but they didn't actually have a way to search for custom tracks, which is god-awful, because how else are you going to find most of the tracks out there? Like when you're trying to search for a specific, I don't know, 2019 Anaheim 1 replica track in this game or whatever, how are you even going to find that if it's not on the most liked page? You're not going to be able to find it. So they might have added that in the recent update. I haven't looked yet, but that needs to be added pronto ASAP in an update, because there needs to be a search option in any user-created based thing like that. There just does. I mean, without a doubt. So yeah, but that was another aspect that I noticed was kind of cool about it, was the fact that, let's see, let's get a corner here real quick, was the fact that there was already people making, like, the 2019 Supercross track replicas. You understand what I'm saying? There's already people making that, so it was like, wow, that's kind of cool. You know, I didn't really expect for that to be in the game right off the bat, but it was. It's like, whoa, dude, that's sick. Like, even though these tracks are from 2000 and technically 2017 replica tracks that are already in the game, it was so cool to see people already making, you know, it's basically like you've already got a lot of the 19 replica tracks in this game on the custom tracks. So that was awesome to see that. It's cool to see that the community actually cares enough to make that sort of stuff there. But yeah, it would have been cool to see a couple more options with objects of like jumps. I understand it's just a Supercross game, but it would have been cool to see like an actual motocross style tabletop in here in the editor, or an actual like a certain section of braking bumps, or a corner section that had an inside rut or something. You know, it would have been cool to see a couple more objects and stuff than, like, it's pretty bare bones when it comes to like how Supercross tracks are made. I mean, this track has basically the bare bones level stuff. The one difference is just how the game is, the fact that you can use the sort of whoops in there as roughness, because the whoops aren't that hard in the game at all anyways, so they're almost braking bumps. I don't think that was a conscious decision by the developers, like, oh hey, we're putting these whoops this whoop object in the track editor so that people can make it for roughness, that wasn't in their head. They were thinking like it's actually going to be whoops, but it's just the fact of the matter is the whoops are so easy in this game that it can kind of turn that into roughness, and therefore you can almost make a motocross track, you know what I mean? And the fact that the stadium's, this biggest stadium in the game, is just big enough to where you can get your lanes just long enough to where you can kind of make a motocross track. You know, if they didn't have the biggest stadium that they do have in the game, and they didn't have those smaller whoops kind of things in the game, and the whoops weren't that easy in the game, you just wouldn't be able to have that variation. Everything would be exactly like how a Supercross track is. But the fact that they have that, it gives it just enough to where you can kind of make these little bit of differences here. But you can see how quick I just put together this track while I was talking. You know, didn't even really have to pay attention to what I was doing at all. Kind of made me a little hybrid-y style motocross-esque track right here. So, yeah, man, I mean, that's kind of the positive to it. You know, you can put shit together super quick. You don't have to really think too hard about anything. But it just, with a motocross game, though, I will say this, is it's like when you talk about having a catalog of tracks, of like just, you know, thousands of custom tracks in the game, it a lot of it is like how varied those custom tracks are. You know, that's what's made MX Simulator and the PC version of Reflex and all that succeed so much, because of the fact of how personalized and how different you can actually make the custom tracks within that editor, because they're so much more extensive. You know, that's what gives it that like endless longevity, because it's whatever, literally whatever your mind comes up with, you can make in the track editors of MX Simulator and the PC version of Reflex, you know? So, right, like this track editor here is eventually going to die out to some sort of degree, so they're going to have to add more pieces, they're going to have to add other ways to build things, bigger stadiums, they're going to have to add something eventually to keep this train going on the track editor side of things. But either way, like I said, cool to see. Just definitely has its limitations in certain areas, but so yeah, like certain aspects of it, it's kind of the whole game in full is kind of how I feel about the editor as well. Like certain aspects are a little better than I thought, certain aspects were a little worse, but it still comes around for that basically what I thought it was going to be before it even came out. I mean, basically, that's what it is, you know? So, yeah, but cool to see nonetheless. So, either way, shout out to my sponsor, SquidSquadSTL.com. Super cheap motocross shirts and clothing. He's just started his business, so definitely go check him out. But, yeah, man, I appreciate all you guys watching the videos. I'm going to make a couple more on this game for sure. But it's, who knows, man? Who knows about the longevity of this game? It'll really be tested when we get like 3 months after launch. You know what I mean? 2 or 3 months after launch. That's when a lot of games get tested. Especially like, you know, your Call of Duties and stuff like that. That's when, if no one's really playing it after 3 months, the game sucks dick. It doesn't matter how many people bought it. If people are not currently playing it 3 months later, it didn't, either A, didn't have enough content, or B, the content just sucked, or the gameplay sucked, or something. So we'll see the longevity of this game. Now, one thing to say about that, though, is there is not a lot of arcade motocross games. So really, like, MX vs. ATV All Out needs to come out, and then, like, 3 months after that, we'll see what game everyone's really still playing, how it all pans out at that point, and that's how you'll be able to tell what games are really going to have that longevity feel to them. So either way, man, appreciate you guys watching the videos. Later, dudes.